I know, guys. Honestly, I know. I'm beyond late to the party with this one. The party's shut down, the party's non-existent, but come on now. It's not like I didn't plan on making a video for this game at some point, it's just I felt I had to play it a few more times. You know, I don't mind that there's thousands of videos on this topic out there, or, you know, how long it's been since the game's actually hit the shelves. This had to happen. You know what I mean? Seeing as I'm the one late to the party, it would be almost rude of me to attempt to bring up the controversy, shall we say, surrounding this game at the time of its release and before. I'm pretty sure you lot are fully aware of the leaks, the divisive storyline, the whole rumoured crunch culture regime over at Naughty Dog, and of course, the death of that character, and the inclusion of another. And I don't feel I need to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case I offend anybody out there, but spoilers ahead. But what I do feel I need to say is, I absolutely love this game. But I can understand why some people don't. Let me take you back a few years. Let me take you back to the time when we first saw those credits roll at the end of the first game. I don't know about you, but I didn't think this game needed a sequel. I thought the ending was perfect. Like Sopranos levels of perfect. You know, let the imagination run wild, Naughty Dog. Let us wonder what became of that fateful lie. Let us ponder the possibilities of what happened to our precious protagonist, but oh wait, we're getting a sequel because, you know, money. Okay, I don't fully agree with that decision, but I can live with it. But I'm going to need 3 things from you, Naughty Dog. Closure, continuation, and a clear, concise theme. Okay, so let's take a second to really look at this. Did we get closure in regards to the big cliffhanger at the end of the first game? Yes. Did we get a clear and obvious theme? You know, one that runs smoothly throughout the length of the game's narrative? Well, possibly. Did we get another adventure with our favourite surrogate father and daughter as they battle their way through the post-apocalyptic hellscape that is the world of The Last of Us? Well, no. No, we didn't. But what we did get were some rather beautiful moments and flashbacks. You know, those flashbacks that made us think how awesome the game would have been if Naughty Dog just stuck to their original Joel and Ellie formula, the one that worked so well in the first game. Well, you see, I say that, but it's actually these flashbacks that made me realise that we got exactly what we should have, and more. And we should be bloody well grateful.
We let you both live, and you wasted it!
Now, understandably, most people whom have played this game would say that the overarching theme is revenge is bad. And to a degree, they're not wrong. That is clearly a theme. But is it really what the game is about? Well, I say no. Now, most narrative-heavy games are designed to be played more than once. To me, it's like this. If you've completed a game just once, it probably wasn't a very good game. You see, this is what I do. I play the first time to familiarise myself with the controls, the characters, and the lore. I play the second time to take in the story, the level design, and the sheer gorgeousness of the graphics, and if I play through a third time, well, clearly I'm impressed. You don't play through a game just once, just like you don't go out to a specific restaurant just once, and if you did, chances are, you didn't enjoy your meal. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Unless you take one bite, throw down your fork, and then ask for a refund. I mean, you can't judge a plate of food on one bite. But some people, at least the ones I've spoken to, have done exactly that. Now look, I can't tell you how to eat your food or listen to your music, but what I can suggest is, rewind that track and listen closely. Because that bass line has a bass line, and once you're open to hearing it, it's actually rather beautiful.
I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
I like that.
The Last of Us Part 2, at least to me, is a study of the process of grief and how one chooses to manage said grief under the circumstances presented by the game's setting and the mindset of the character forced to face it. Take Joel, for example. In the first game, we see him lose his daughter Sarah in what has to be the most tragic moment in video game history. Flash forward and we see a man consumed by grief. His only reason for surviving so long? Letting go of his humanity, becoming a morally grey smuggler hell-bent on surviving by literally any means necessary. Because that's what his environment demands. A demand made easier by the level of loss he'd experienced so many years before. Now enter Ellie, his potential second chance at fatherhood, and we begin to see what he's willing to do in order to keep her alive. Is this because of her immunity and what it could mean for the future of the human race? Well, perhaps at first. But ultimately, Joel makes the decisions he does because he falls in love. And after experiencing such an incredible loss in the past, he chooses to save her from the Fireflies. Even if the alternative could have literally saved humanity, he would rather continue to live in hell than live with the hell of losing another daughter. And who could blame him? We see a different form of grief management through Henry and Sam. Henry's only motivation to succeed in the apocalypse is to keep his little brother safe. And once that fails... In part 2, we get to see how Ellie deals with the death of her father figure. Consumed by rage, she chooses to convert her grief into revenge, becoming obsessed with this fruitless notion of making the WLF pay. But what if she just stopped and took time to really understand her feelings, find a way to accept them, channel them into something more meaningful? What if she just stayed in Jackson and mourned Joe in a more balanced and healthy way? Well, that's not the kind of world they live in. And, plot development. But it does make one wonder. Ellie is given plenty of chances to confront her feelings and process her grief. When she's in Joel's house in Jackson, when she settles down on the farm with Dina and JJ, her PTSD practically begging her to mentally tackle her trauma. But each time, she chooses what the world of The Last of Us dictates: blood and vengeance. It's only in the game's final moments that she realizes revenge won't fill the hole left by Joel's death. And at that point, the only thing she could do was just let go.
I have to finish it. You don't owe Tommy anything. I don't sleep. I don't eat. I'm not like you, Dina. What? You think this is easy? For you and for him, I deal with it. I love you. Prove it. Stay. I can't.
The real irony comes in the form of the loss of her two fingers, leaving Ellie unable to play the guitar, her last real connection to Joel severed, a direct result of her desire to avenge his death. Now that's bound to lead most people to thinking that revenge is bad is the main theme of the game, but it could also be a cleverly disguised metaphor for loss. Grief never fully goes away, it's always there, ready to remind you of what was. You have to adapt, you have to learn to live with it, whether you like it or not. And if all I've said isn't enough to convince you, Google the second verse of Take On Me. I don't know about you, but to me those lyrics sound an awful lot like a person learning to cope with loss. But that's just what I think. As for the other song, Future Days, if I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself. Now that's no coincidence, especially when you look at the various points this song is made playable on the strategically placed guitars throughout the game. In the first act, with a subtle bit of foreshadowing, perhaps a warning, again in the music shop and theatre, and at the closing scenes of the game. All different points in Ellie's journey towards revenge, all pointing towards that final moment, when Ellie realizes she's lost everything she loves, including her sense of self.
Happy birthday, kiddo.
What is this?
This is a thing that took a mighty effort to find. Take it. Close your eyes. It'll be worth it.
Okay.
The Last of Us Part 2 is purposely divisive. You either love it or you hate it, and I think that's exactly what Naughty Dog were going for. I mean, after all, causing a dividing opinion usually means the conversation continues way past the point of release. But because of this, it's easy for us, as fans, to overlook how morally complex, beautiful, and downright clever this game truly is. Yes, there are some things it does well as things it doesn't, just like any other game. But what it does do is hold a mirror up to the player, forcing us to deal with our own grief, as we too watched one of our favourite gaming characters die before our very eyes. And, like Ellie, some of us chose the path of revenge, slandering and slating Naughty Dog at every turn instead of choosing to take a moment to process our grief and find a healthy and productive way of channeling it. This title, like the first, is a strong example of how far the medium has come and how gaming is so much more than just X square triangle circle, or whatever your button layout looks like. But hey, I want to know what you think. Please feel free to drop a comment below. Like, subscribe and all of that jazz, but most importantly, let's rise above the controversy. Let's rise above our differences in opinion and support each other through this loss. Because I would like to think that's what Joel would have wanted. Once again, thank you guys very much, and I hope to see you all soon.